Welcome back, ScreenRanters. More often than not, the A-list talent that we see acting today have to start at the bottom in Hollywood before rising to the tippity-top. By that, we mean that they'll be extras or have uncredited roles in productions. Today, we're going to look at some of the fascinating times that huge names broke into the industry by being extras in all sorts of different projects. We've got a couple of Star Wars actors, one from the MCU, and a number of Oscar winners to look at. So before you start signing up to be an extra in a movie, watch this video first. We kick off with one of the biggest actors to grace our screens, Brad Pitt. In the space of 1 year, Pitt was on an extra binge. The year was 1987. He was seen briefly on screen in 4 different productions according to IMDb, but really it's 5, more on that mystery in a bit. One of the first was in the film Hunk. Besides being an adjective to describe Pitt, Pitt had the role of boy at beach in Hunk. During a scene at a beach, strangely enough, in the background, you can see the blonde-haired Pitt drinking a beverage on a sun lounger. Another production he arrives in is during Less Than Zero, which stars a Marvel alumnus in the form of Robert Downey Jr. When the character, Clay, arrives at a shindig, he looks at the entrance of TVs. Well, a certain performer walks past the camera in a tank top and smoking a cigarette. Once again, it's the future Tyler Durden. Now for the missing credit. No Way Out with Kevin Costner was released in the same year. During a party scene, we can see Pitt over the shoulder of Costner numerous times. In recent years, Megan Fox has had a lot to deal with when it comes to the controversial side of Hollywood. It all stems back to her appearance in 2003's Bad Boys 2 by Michael Bay. In the opening of the film, the scene takes place at a club. People are dancing and having a swell time. For a brief moment, we can see Fox wearing a hat. While Fox was only 15 at the time, IMDb had her role marked down as Stars and Stripes Bikini Kid Dancing Under Waterfall, which makes it icky. Fox has spoken about the role with Jimmy Kimmel. Due to her age, they couldn't have Fox posed with a drink in her hand. As Fox said in the interview, quote, "So his solution to that problem was to then have me dancing underneath a waterfall soaking wet," unquote. We're not sure that's a good solution. After this, Fox wouldn't be able to escape the discomfort of working with Bay. She would go on to be in the Transformers series directed by the controversial director, until they had a very public falling out. Now we have another Oscar-winning actor and 2-time nominee in Viola Davis. Davis is also Amanda Waller in DC's Suicide Squad, both the 2016 original and the upcoming remake. While Davis got her start all the way back in 1996. She was in the episode Moby Greg in the show NYPD Blue. After a convict escapes, Detective Andy Sipowicz is canvassing the area for information, as at the moment they had diddly squat to work with. Well, one woman approaches him quietly and provides some much-needed information. And that woman was Davis. She's the first on our list to be a speaking extra. On top of that, she gets a lot of screen time to boot. An extra's dream. Fun fact, Leonardo DiCaprio actually got his first acting job when he was 5 years old for the series Romper Room in 1979. But that's not what gets the legendary actor onto our list today, no siree. Instead, it's due to him popping up in a random episode of Roseanne. The show ran for nearly 30 years, with a 21-year gap between season 9 and 10. Anyway, DiCaprio is in the episode Home Ec in 1991. In the plot, Roseanne goes to the school to talk about her job as a homemaker. One of the students is DiCaprio. He listens intently while Roseanne rambles on. Sadly, he doesn't appear in the rest of the episode. All the boys in the class are written off from the field trip because, well, apparently only girls do shopping. Nonsense. DiCaprio would make a number of small appearances in other shows such as Santa Barbara, The Outsiders, and so on, getting his big break in the show Parenthood with a reoccurring role, then eventually with 1993's What's Eating Gilbert Grape with Johnny Depp. 1993's Dazed and Confused by Richard Linklater is filled to the brim with future acting talent. If you randomly pick a scene in the film, you're likely to recognize at least 2 of the actors that are performing on screen, such as Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, Mila Jovovich, Adam Goldberg, and so on. One of the other big actors that was in the film had 2 moments as an extra, and you probably had no idea that this performer was even in the film. We're talking about the 2-time Oscar winner and 2-time nominee Renee Bridget Jones Zellweger. As McConaughey's Wooderson is talking about girls with his group, Zellweger wanders by in a blue and orange tank top. Then Wooderson delivers his infamous creepy line.
I get older, they stay the same age.
Yep. fun. We also see Zellweger in the woods later helping someone drink beer very responsibly with a funnel. And to finish off, Linklater is one of the greatest directors of all time. No, the writer isn't forcing me to say this as he's a massive Linklater stan. It's purely from my own perception. Great, let's move on, quickly. Next, we have a Marvel hero making their name in the extra world, Evangeline the Wasp Lilly. She managed to get onto screen many times in her extra career, 4 times in 2003 alone. One time she was in the Lizzie McGuire movie. There she plays a police officer that drags Gordo away from Lizzie. She's also seen in Freddy vs. Jason during a scene at school. Lilly also popped in for an episode of True Calling and the film Stealing Sinatra. Lilly was also a regular extra in the Superman prequel series Smallville. Just saying, the title's now got that song stuck in our heads. Somebody save me. Lilly is credited to have been in 4 episodes from 2002 to 2004. In one episode, Whitney reconciles with Lana in the school hallway. As the camera looks at all the students watching on, we can see Lilly in the denim overalls and an orange top. In the episode Kinetic, we see Lilly playing the role of Wade's girlfriend. She passes him some fruit with her mouth. After this, Lilly would go on to be in Lost. Apparently, she did pretty swell in that. If you need someone to star in your fantastic film franchise, easy alliteration. You can't go wrong with Harrison Ford. After all, he's got Star Wars, Blade Runner, Jack Ryan, and Indiana Jones in his acting CV. Well, Ford got his start all the way back in 1966 in the comedy film Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round. In it, Ford also gets a speaking role as an extra. He plays a hotel bellhop that hands a message to someone. Only they weren't the person Ford was actually looking for. So the baby-faced Ford has to wander off and continues calling for a Mr. Ellis.
Paging Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis.
The following year, Ford would continue his extra ways by appearing in Love with 2-time Oscar winner Jack Lemmon. There, Ford plays an irate motorist in the comedy film.
Oh, what a tasteless thing to do.
Ford would then spend the next 6 years doing bit parts in films and TV series. Eventually, in 1973, he was cast in the film American Graffiti, which was directed by George Lucas. 4 years later, Ford would work with Lucas again for Star Wars: A New Hope. In the early part of Channing Tatum's career, he would regularly be cast in music videos as a beefy, topless guy. Well, his career began to change in 2005, but not for his role in Coach Carter. Instead, we are talking about his extra role. Obviously, since that's the theme of today's video, well, Tatum would be in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. As the alien tripod machines are beginning their plan of attack, Cruise witnesses a church be wrecked. Briefly, we can see a police officer trying to direct people to safety. Just behind him, we can see a guy in a baseball cap looking pretty relaxed considering all the carnage. Well, that chap is Channing Tatum. Tatum actually got his first taste of on-screen acting in 2004 when he was a guest star in an episode of CSI Miami. He looks a lot like John Cena's Doctor of Thugonomics character, Eerie. In action films all about martial arts, you need a lot of extras for the hero to knock about the scene with. Jackie Chan was one of those nameless baddies to be flung about. A number of Chan's early roles throughout his current 141 credits were as extras. The 2 biggest projects the future Rush Hour actor was in both involved the legendary Bruce Lee. Firstly, he was in Fist of Fury in 1972. He played a random Jing Wu student that was showing off their battling skills. Then, in 1973, Chan would be in Lee's final film before his untimely passing. The film was Enter the Dragon. In the scene in question, Lee has to battle loads of people while in prison. One of the lucky people was Chan. Chan manages to briefly incapacitate Lee with a hug, but Lee easily reverses it. For an extra, we see a lot of Chan's face. We then get a close-up of Lee as we hear a delightful snap. We're sure it's the noise of a door closing, nothing bad for Chan's character, oh no. Now we finish off with another Star Wars alumni, Donald Glover. All the way back in 2006, prior to being in Spider-Man Homecoming, Glover would make his television debut in 30 Rock. It was in the episode Jack Tor in Season 1. In the episode, Jenna thought an extra was actually Jack's boss. Once she realizes, in steps a young professional assistant that tells the extra he shouldn't be eating in costume and drags him off. Well, that PA was Glover, as you can likely see from the clip. Only 2 years later, Glover would become a writer on 30 Rock. An actual writer, not screen acting as a writer on the show. Glover would make another extra appearance in 30 Rock during 2007. After getting the behind-the-scene gig, Glover would also make a cameo appearance a couple of times. Then, Glover would get his big break on screen with his role on Community in 2009. Now, he's a Hollywood actor, a stand-up comic, and a Grammy-winning musician as Childish Gambino. He's done all right since that original brief 30 Rock cameo.
This is wrinkling my brain.
This is wrinkling my brain.
That's wrinkling my brain.
And that's a wrap. Have you ever been an extra in something? Let us know what you were in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. All those actions, they really help us out. Finally, thanks for joining us today. Bye.